Okay, hello. Long overdue for a YouTube update, recap, some sort of video. Last actual proper video that I put up was back in Melbourne. I think it was a few days out from the national show, the Pro-Qualifier, and that was recapping the state show, which was the national qualifier. Lots changed. Beard's grown out. I'm fat again. It happens. I'm starting to look like a bit of a wreck. 7-plate deadlift last night. I only slept 3 hours. I'm exhausted, but I've been receiving a large amount of messages requesting a YouTube update video on what's happened. And I knew if I didn't get it done right now, the second I got home, I wasn't going to do it at all because I've been putting it off because I've just been a little bit lazy. And then there's a lot to recap and I don't want to miss things. But anyway, Nationals, bodybuilding, Pro Qualifier, how we go. Third in juniors, and I think it was fifth in men's opens in the heavyweight class, which is the under 102 category. Basically, much better package than the States, far better. I think I did spill slightly, too aggressive with the carb up, and there was still some water inflammation retention from States, because obviously Nationals was only 6 days after. Things I also wish I would have done better, a bit more sleep the night beforehand. I only slept I think it was 3 or 4 hours, mostly just from being awake with nerves, and I've been taking sleeping pills throughout prep. I had one pill left the night before the show, dropped it on the floor, lost it, couldn't find it. Thought I'd be fine falling asleep. Without it, I was not. I stayed up until 2 in the morning, and I had to get up at 5 in the morning to go to the venue for my last coat of tan. So, other things I would have done better. How do I feel about the placing? Honestly, really happy with it. First show in 2 years, if you don't include States, and obviously it was a far better performance than States, and I kind of pulled back my physique in terms of minimizing the inflammation, water retention from all the issues I had at States. I believe I covered that. Took an over-the-counter diuretic, had a bad reaction, really bad water inflammation, aldosterone stress response, so particularly in my legs, a lot of water inflammation. Gave a really weird look where it would look like I was spilled in fat, but there was still kind of striations and feathering in shape. And I also, a lot of that water inflammation also set in my knees, which meant I couldn't tense my quads properly, so I had super soft quads on stage. Similar issues with my knees on stage at Nationals. You'll see in some of the shots or some of the videos or all the stuff I've kind of put up, or if you watch the live stream or if you were there. Really hard to keep my quads on just because, one, knee inflammation, partially from that remaining aldosterone water retention in my knees. I could actually feel fluid in my knees, not in the knee cap, just subcutaneously around my knees. My knees felt swollen. And then also bad night of sleep, achy sore joints, kind of just, everything fell apart. I would say I was probably 85% on for Nationals compared to the 40% on I was for States. So, huge improvement in 6 days, but overall kind of screwed myself in the prep with just bad decisions in my peak week. I've got a better plan for next year. So I guess that leads into the next point, which is next bodybuilding show will be same time next year. So I'll be doing States at the end of September to qualify for Nationals, and then doing the National Pro Qualifier again. I'm no longer going to be a junior because I turn 24 in January of next year. So I would just be with the big boys in the men's opens now. In terms of off season where I'm trying to get to, I would like to get to 300 pounds, similar conditioning to where I was at 260 pounds this off season. And we're going to get into that in a little bit as well. I guess the next main big thing, for those of you that follow me very closely on Instagram, I tore my pec. Yep, that happened. So basically what happened was, let's focus on the positive first. Post-show, came out of the diet very happy, was still happy with my condition and everything, was still doing some cardio, was really happy with the food volume, strength was coming back really fast. Hit the 5-plate bench, hit over a 7-plate squat, 305 kilo squat, which I think is just under 700 pound squat. Deadlifts were a little lagging, and shoulder press was kind of back to where it was. There was a 4-plate attempt. It was decent, not my best one, but not my worst. But just had really good momentum moving into the off season. Was really happy. Went to a bench session, PR'd and hit 232 kilos, which I think is 500 and something pounds, 520, 530 pounds off the top of my head. Got really greedy, jumped to 252 kilos, which is 555 pounds. Missed the lift, but had no issues. Probably could have hit 242 kilos, but I like the number 252 more. And you guys know I would rather fail the heavier weight and just tried again another time. But no, I actually maxed out, then hit 242 and sit there wondering at home if I could hit 252. So no issues there, and I was gassed. I took the 1 PR as well. It was a 10 kilo PR from 5 plates to 232. So I was happy with that regardless. So yeah, 232, 252, backed off with a 4-plate AMRAP. I think I did like 7 or 8 reps. I was using elbow wraps and I kind of just lost circulation in my forearms and hands and just kind of racked it. Felt really weird. Not going to be doing AMRAPs with wraps ever again. And then after that, I was kind of between doing a 3-plate AMRAP raw and just moving on with the rest of my workout. And I was like, no, you know what? I haven't done a 3-plate AMRAP in quite a while. I'll go for it. The issue with that was I was a bit of a dickhead and I was training with 2 other guys. Peter, who is obviously a very good friend of mine, he helped me with the state powerlifting meet, handled me at that meet, and a new friend as well from CrewFit. And basically, I just sat there for like 20, 30 minutes, getting cold under the aircon while sweaty. Jumped onto a 3-plate bench with absolutely no warm-up. Started moving very fast to try and get 30 plus reps with 3 plates. After already doing 232, 252, and a 4-plate AMRAP. And I now cooled down. And I think it was on like the 16th rep, I felt like a little pop in my right pec. And I was just moving so fast, like so much velocity to try and get the reps done. I could not stop. 17th rep, it was like ripping 2 sheets of Velcro apart on the inside of my pec. Had a lot of momentum, so got the bar back on the rack with literally just like the bar moving fast. Threw it on the rack, sat up, grabbed my right pec, turned to my mate and was like, I just fucking tore my pec. He goes, are you serious? Like, really? I was like, really? And it's probably the worst one I've ever done because, as you guys may know, I've torn my pecs 3 times. The left one twice, the right one once, and now the right one twice. The first one was a high grade 2. The second one on the right side was a high grade 1. The left side for the 3rd time was a high grade 1, and this was now a high grade 2 on the right side. Now, it's like kind of like the best worst news you can get. I got like the MRIs and scans and everything out on my shoulder, my pec. No tendon damage whatsoever, like tendon completely intact, no, not even a strain on the tendon, just a muscle belly tear, which, you know, kind of makes sense with being cold. Also really good news for the comeback in terms of like rebuilding strength because everything's actually intact. If you imagine like the extent of the grade 2 muscle tear, if you had like a fat piece of steak, like a really thick piece of steak, and you slapped a cleaver into it and didn't cut it clean in half and just kind of like split it down the middle a little bit, and then if you sewed that steak back up together, that's what I've done, but without surgery and the sewing. So basically a week on painkillers, bruising and, you know, swelling and whatnot, slight deformity in my right pec, a week of painkillers. Just after the 1 week mark, when I saw Dario, Dr. Fit Physio in Sydney, highly recommend him due to save me 3 years of injuries and everything else. Got some treatment, immediately felt way better, started rehabbing. We just did statics in different positions. So obviously static contraction to begin, and then opening up range of motion into like fully lengthened statics, then eccentric loading, so like lightweight, and just really slow eccentrics, and then pausing in the fully lengthened position, which is what I got done today. I went back for treatment and another assessment today. I'm functionally pain-free, 3 weeks of rehab, rest and recovery, and I'm going to start loading concentrics in 3 days time, and then I'm going to be back to like 100%, if not better, very shortly after. So that's great. A few other things came up in the MRIs. Apparently at some point I tore my labrum in my shoulder and I just didn't realize, but it's fully healed, so it's fine. I guess I just trained through it and didn't fucking notice. Whoops. And then I also have severe tendinosis, literally through my infraspinata, supraspinata, pec minor, pec major, shoulder, bicep tendons, literally everywhere in my upper body. I've got tendinosis. If you don't know what tendinosis is, it's tendonitis, except it's chronic and it's a bit more severe. And if you don't know what tendonitis and tendinosis are, imagine you've got a rubber band and that's your tendon, and you overstretch it and you get lots of little holes and strains on it. That's all it is. And that just comes from the amount of weight I move and the amount that I train and the stress that I put my body under. I'm probably going to have that forever. As long as I'm not in pain, who really gives a shit? It's fine. Probably has healed up a little bit with the time off that I took with the pec tear. I was in a sling for about a week. If any of you have or have had, or you weren't sure how to deal with an injury like this, basically what I did was the sling, when I was fucking stoned out of my mind on painkillers, I would take it out of the sling and do like little bits of movement because you don't want to keep it locked in place because you'll get a scar tissue build up and it will fuck your recovery. The general rule of thumb is like you want very mild discomfort. A small amount of discomfort is a good thing. Too much discomfort, bad. No discomfort is also bad. So basically like progressive overload, but for getting range of motion back in my shoulder and pec and like, my arms and everything. When I could kind of like function with it a little bit throughout the day, I didn't really want to like load it with like, carrying shopping bags or like changing bed sheets and lifting up a mattress or anything. I didn't want to drive a car, but by the time I could actually do things like driving or just like, using my right hand again, that was when I went to the physio. We got the treatment, we did the assessment, we started the rehabilitation plan. Luckily, I also heal very quickly. So great news. So that's nationals covered. That's the pec tag covered. That's how like post nationals training went. I was doing full body every other day. Had a lot of fun with it. The issue is for me, just a lot of time in the gym. And I love being in the gym, but I felt like the sessions where I was in a really good mood to train, it felt like fucking awesome. I wasn't spending enough time on each body part because I had so much to get through. And these sessions where I didn't really want to be in the gym, I kind of just wanted to fucking die because I was there for like 2.5 hours, and it's just a very long list. I was only doing like 1 or 2 sets per exercise, but just a very long list of exercises covering every muscle group. So I think when I return to training like in full force, when the pec is 110% better, the plan is to be doing upper lower rest, repeat. So that's kind of like where I'm at with training. I'll be jumping back on a full diet as well, post-surgery, which I'm about to get into in a second. Don't freak out, the surgery's nothing serious. And I'll be doing a full day of eating once on a full diet post-surgery. Now let's get into the topic of surgery. Basically, I have had my nose busted up a whole bunch of times as a kid, different like contact and combat sports and all these other things, getting hit, nose broken and reset and all this nonsense. I've got a deviated septum, not great for sleep apnea. Inflamed turbinates, which is basically just in caveman term how big your nose hole is. So they're going to correct my septum, shave back my turbinates with a laser, and that should give me more oxygen intake, which also means better sleep quality, better recovery, more growth, and also just better for training as well. You need oxygen to train. So that's what the surgery's for. And when I was getting the assessment done for that, it turns out I have really big tonsils. Not tonsillitis, the tonsils have just grown, just like the rest of me. So originally with the deviated septum and the turbinates in my nose, they thought I was getting 60% on the oxygen I should have been getting, not just while I was asleep, but throughout the day. So while training, while working at my desk, while lying on the couch, just not getting the full amount of oxygen I should have been. And then obviously that was very severe in my sleep with like sleep apnea episodes. And then when they realized my tonsils were the size of like golf balls, they were like literally like, this is like the gap in my throat with my tonsils. Like I'm getting maybe 20% of the oxygen I should be throughout the day. So if you've ever seen a video of me where I'm like out of breath just from talking to the camera, it's because I literally am just not intaking oxygen. And then again, sleep apnea episodes, obviously not great as well, which are more noticeable as well when I'm bulked up and heavy, because again, I've just got things blocking my airways. So I'm getting the surgery for that. The turbinates and deviated septum were meant to be a 1-week recovery period, but apparently getting your tonsils out as an adult is not a great time. So it's more like 2 weeks turnaround, and I've got this surgery in like 4 or 5 days time. So the plan is head to the hospital. They knock me out, they'll operate. I need to stay in the intensive care unit for, I think it was like 1 to 3 days, depending on how I pull up, because I need to keep an eye on my sleep apnea. And again, tonsils are apparently quite invasive as an adult, and due to the size of the tonsil, it's going to be quite invasive because they're taking out huge fistful size of muscle tissue out of my throat. After that, just going to start progressively overloading food and jump straight back into training. It's a shame. I was trying to do either a strongman comp before the year ended to dabble in that, or at least one more 3-lift powerlifting meet to try and get the 500 dots while a junior. Not going to be able to do that now because obviously coming out of this surgery, I'm probably not going to eat for at least a week because of the tonsils. I'm probably going to lose a whole bunch of weight. I'm probably going to lose a whole bunch of strength. But the good news is I'll bounce back. I always do. So I'm not like stressed over it. And my sleep and training quality should go up so much more because of the like better oxygen intake and better sleep and better recovery, that I'm going to become like 10 times better than I ever was. So I'm actually really excited to get the surgery done. The choking my sleep with the tonsils and nose and everything has actually been a lot more noticeable in the last month, to the point where I'm actually like consciously waking up from choking in my sleep, and it's horrible. And if maybe you might have noticed even over the years, I've gotten a bit more nasally in some of the YouTube videos from like, everything being inflamed, my nose constantly being congested by the turbinates and the deviated septum, and then, inflamed tonsils and everything else. So that's basically an update of everything that's happened. Again, in terms of PRs, because I haven't filmed a YouTube video, we're at 232 kilos of bench. So that's plus about like 20 kilos or something, touch and go. We're at 305 kilo squat. So that's up I believe, 10 kilos from my last PR. And deadlift, I've only deadlifted 3 times since post-comp. They just haven't been feeling good. I haven't really been in the mood to do them. I kind of got a lock in on my RDLs post this surgery as well, my hip hinging in general. But I did pull 7 plates last night. So, and I'm pretty confident I can probably push well over 300 kilo or like well over 700 pounds after the surgery and everything too. So I'm not worried about anything. You guys shouldn't be worried either. The pec is pretty much better. Like if I didn't have this surgery in 5 days, I would probably be looking at like really aggressively loading it within the next week or two. But basically what's gonna happen is I'm gonna do the last session 2 days before the surgery, which will be my first time back under a barbell and just loading concentrics and eccentrics and, you know, filling things out. Take 2 weeks off after the surgery, and then we'll be back in full force. In terms of next year, and I'll make a more detailed video breaking down this when I've actually picked comps and specific dates and how I'm going to plan and structure 2026, I think is next year. Or is it 27? Whichever one it is. But basically the plan is I want to do as many comps as possible. I think in the, you know, the while that I was off of like social media before kind of my comeback this year where I've, you know, exploded. But this is more so for the very, very OG guys. I'm talking like a couple hundred subs on YouTube and maybe like 20K on Instagram. It gets very hard training without like a really specific competitive goal. Or not hard training, but very hard to push yourself. It's very hard to chase numbers and, you know, it's very, especially with bodybuilding, it's a very slow sport. It's hard to notice the amount of muscle you're accruing, especially as like an advanced lifter. So the plan for next year is I'm definitely going to be doing states of powerlifting, nationals of powerlifting. I would like to do 1 or 2 strongman comps. I would like to try an arm wrestling comp. I would like to try a street lifting comp, so weighted pull up, weighted dip, weighted muscle up. And then obviously for bodybuilding, we're going to be doing stage in the Nationals Pro-Qualifier at the very end of the year again. I just need to get as many of these other like strength-based comps in at the start of the year before I start my prep. I do not plan on doing 2 powerlifting meets in 1 day mid-bodybuilding prep ever again. That was a horrible time. I felt like shit. Not the best thing in the world. There's a helicopter in the background. I really hope that's not ruining the audio for this. But basically, that's where I've been. Post-show, I didn't really want to film a recap because I was just trying to enjoy eating and chilling out. And I was very focused on getting back into training. I didn't take time off after the show. I'm not a fan of doing that. You get so much momentum post-show in terms of like motivation because you've just competed and you've got things to improve on. And you got all this food and stuff, and I wanted to make the most of it. And I was just really dialed on training and stuff, and you know, the excitement of being on full body for the first time in my life and all this other stuff. So there was no content there for that reason. And then kind of when I was getting back to the point where I was like hitting PRs, and I was like, oh, I should start filming YouTube videos again. The pec tear happened, and then I had a week off. And then it was just like rehab and boring, and then there was just a lot of just procrastination, you know. But that's basically what's happened. This is more of a catch-up video. I guess I'll make another little update post-surgery, which will probably be, look, could be a week away, could be 2 weeks away, could be closer to 3, because obviously the surgery's not for another couple of days anyway as well. But that will cover like we'll do a more in-depth breakdown of what I'm gonna do with my training, my nutrition and everything else there as well. I'll let you know how I feel in terms of sleep and oxygen intake and everything too. And then either in the same video or in a video after, we'll do like a really good comp calendar breakdown for the next year as well. Comp dates, goals, everything else. And then I think in that video as well, I'll break down the plan of how I'm gonna get to 300 pounds relatively lean before I start dieting again. But the premise is basically I'm gonna eat a fuck ton of food and train really hard and really heavy and get really strong at the same time. So ticking all the boxes. I think that's about it. I think you guys are caught up on everything. I don't think I've missed anything. Follow me on Instagram because that's where I'm posting the most consistent updates, both in terms of like pec rehab, training, diet, everything. If I'm going to do a comp, I'll announce it there first as well. TikTok, I post pretty much all the same stuff as well. I just don't do stories. The stories is probably where I post like my most active updates. If you're interested in coaching, you can apply down below. Probably won't be getting back to people unless you do it as soon as this video goes up, basically. But within the next few days, I'll obviously be out of commission for a week or 2. I will still be responding to regular clients as soon as I'm conscious post-surgery, but won't be taking anyone new on until I'm kind of back to 100%. Code Matt down below. We're now with Controlled Insanity as well. Got a little giveaway that's gonna have to go up on Instagram. So definitely follow the Instagram for the Controlled Insanity and giveaway. They've given me a very pricey gift voucher to give to you guys. Code Matt with Hard Body. It's actually Black Friday sale right now for them. It's like up to 80% off store wide, and you can use Code Matt to save the extra 10-15% on top of that too. So it's kind of nuts, and this is the biggest sale of the year, so you're not going to be able to save that much with them until next year. Code Matt with anabolic apparel for the clothes and whatnot. Black Friday sale with them again as well. And then obviously Code Matt with the OGs, the day ones, Emerald Labs. That are all the supplements I use for everything for performance, health, and whatnot. It's just the only like brand I like, and they're Aussie owned. So for me, being an Australian, it's great because it's local as well. If you enjoyed the video, and if you're new and you don't know who the fuck I am, hi. Make sure to subscribe. Maybe you've watched all the videos and you haven't subscribed, in which case subscribe to that too. We're getting pretty close to 6,000 subs. That's kind of crazy considering that I'm kind of slack with the YouTube videos. But hopefully I'll dial in on content next year as well. But with that, I think that's everything recapped. And I'll see you guys post-surgery, whenever that may be, and we'll do some planning for the future.